Hey, Miss Stanciu. I wanted to let you know about the importance of salmon on the Pacific Northwest. They're a creature that's very important to me, and I wanted to share some insight on their lives in the Pacific Northwest and how they're doing today and how important they are. I've always been interested in animals, especially animals from the Pacific Northwest. There's no animal more significant and iconic to the Pacific Northwest than the salmon. My father and I would go salmon fishing every free weekend during the COVID-19 pandemic because it was always a chance to get outside and escape the dead city. These instances gave me a lot of time to think and wonder about these animals as I was searching for them, fishing, and I began to think about how family-oriented salmon are, how they survive such a treacherous life, and how important they are to my home, which is the Pacific Northwest. For these reasons, I wanted to research how measurable are the impacts, culturally, economically, and biologically, the impacts of salmon on the Pacific Northwest are, and how they're represented today. For starters, salmon are fish. They start small in freshwater streams. This is a little background. So they start small in streams and lakes all around us here in Portland, Oregon, and the entire PNW. They have been here for a long time. First appeared in this area 6 million years ago, and these fish have not only been here for 6 million years, but they've also had time to evolve over that time into 5 distinct species: the pink, the coho, chum, sockeye, and chinook salmon. All 5 species have similar behavior, but they vary physically in some degree. Salmon are born in freshwater lakes and streams from eggs that were laid and fertilized by their predecessors. And once born, young salmon travel downstream using little energy to make it to the Pacific Ocean, where they will feed and grow for several years. The time salmon spend in the ocean feeding varies from species to species, but the goal is all the same: eat, grow, and return to their native waters to reproduce. That's the simple version, but the whole ordeal takes place over a long and grueling journey, the salmon migration. These fish are famous for their lifetime adventure that they endure, which includes swimming hundreds of miles downstream from their birthing place to saltwater, and then these fish travel about 1,000 miles around the open ocean, growing and feeding for years. After that, salmon mature and return hundreds of miles of fresh water right to where they were born, and that's where they spawn. In fact, the longest salmon migration upstream in freshwater is over 2,000 miles in the Yukon River that stretches from Alaska to Canada. For comparison, that's the same distance between Los Angeles, California, and Chicago, Illinois. The growing migration shows the determination and resilience that salmon have to fulfill their life cycle. The impacts of salmon on the culture of the Pacific Northwest have been a big reason why tribes and the population as a whole has been able to thrive for so long. But salmon's importance and impacts go beyond cultural significance. They also have biological impacts. Salmon play a key role in ecosystems in which they live. Salmon define ecosystems, control the abundance and diversity of hundreds of species, modulate critical ecosystem process, and have important values or critical values and resonance. That statement could not be closer to the truth. These fish are keystone species, meaning they're essential to their ecosystems. And for example, large predators such as wolves and coyotes, and especially bears, rely on salmon to maintain a healthy population. In fact, bear populations are 20 times greater on average when there's a healthy salmon population in the same ecosystem as them. The truth is that salmon are meaningful to the culture of humans and biology of all plants and animals, making them a keystone species. But the impacts go beyond culture and biology. People have come to realize how valuable salmon are and have begun to turn a profit on what salmon provide. This is done by fishing, which constitutes the economic impacts of salmon. The fishing industry in the PNW has been extremely profitable since it began. People and cultures around the world adore salmon for their taste and nutrition benefits. Throughout the Pacific Northwest, states including Oregon, California, Washington, Alaska, and Idaho profit a combined $740 million per year from commercial fishing harvest of salmon. For comparison, that's the same amount of money that musician Taylor Swift has. Lots of money. Although this fish is extremely culturally, biologically, and economically valuable, salmon isn't being taken care of like it used to be in the Pacific Northwest. Pre-European settlement of the region, native tribes honored salmon and praised them in hopes that they would return every year and continue feeding native populations, thus making salmon populations sustainable. But once European settlers saw the value that salmon held, Fishing practices remain similar to those of original native fishers, but were overused and began to cause salmon populations to decline. There are many causes for salmon population decline, but it all started with commercial fishing in the 1800s. This sparked mass harvest beyond natural population reproductions. Furthermore, the introduction of hydroelectric dams on rivers such as the Columbia, which divides Oregon and Washington, made it harder for salmon to travel upstream and downstream. For example, dams will change water patterns, making currents harder to navigate. Also, pollution takes a large toll on salmon health. For instance, Johnson Creek in Portland flows east to west into the Willamette River. Historically, Johnson Creek has held large populations of Chinook and coho salmon. However, the urbanization of Portland and the metro area, the stream has become polluted with street runoff and flow alterations. This has caused salmon population to almost disappear from the stream entirely. According to the Johnson Creek Watershed Council, a salmon survey in 2021 concluded a total of 1 adult salmon had returned to the creek. It's terrible from what it used to be. There's so much that goes into salmon, from what they are as creatures to what they represent in their home waters of the Pacific Northwest. The representation can be seen with native tribes honoring them for thousands of years. It can also be seen in the vast market for salmon and all that they offer. Furthermore, salmon's importance and impacts can be seen in their promoting ecosystem health for all plants and animals. All living things in the Pacific Northwest have benefited from salmon for as long as their existence. There's been a lot of harm done to salmon in the past 250 years, but that doesn't impact how important they are to the region. The fact that these fish are still surviving is a testament to how resilient and strong these natural creatures are. Their cultural, biological, and economic impacts have been documented and will continue to impact our environment for generations to come. As spoken, salmon are beautiful creatures and they deserve a spot on this earth, and we need to take care of them. The fact is that, yes, we've done harm, but there's still hope, as they are not all done, and salmon populations continue to live on and be resilient. I believe salmon should be protected, and we should do anything to save them at all costs. They're awesome fish, cool creatures. Thank you, Ms. Stanciu.